Okay, welcome everyone. Tonight is the first discussion for this precious book. It's so good. So, the plan is just to let you know the agenda. We've got 1 hour. It's going to be really short. We're going to blink, it's going to be over. So, the most important thing is first to meet and get to know each other. Some of you do know each other, you'll be happy to see each other. Others of us don't know each other. So, first, I want us to just get to connect with each other. That's the priority. And then, let's say for introductions, I want to ask you to share your photograph of yourself that you brought. If you didn't bring one, that's okay. You don't have to feel concerned. But if you do have a photo of yourself to show your untamed self, then I encourage you to share that so we can each see that part of each other to witness the untamed parts of each other. So we'll introduce ourselves and show our pictures, and then we'll discuss the book, what you've read so far, what it reminds you of in your life. This book, uh, is full of short stories. These concepts are so rich, so deep, with so much feeling and emotion. And if you haven't read part one all the way through, this is not this is not about stress. Don't worry about that. We can talk about what you do feel applies to your life or relates to you, okay? And one thing for housekeeping, I just want to make sure, is my video clear so far? Can you see me okay? Good. I just want to make sure throughout our call, we're at the mercy of the internet and our lighting and so forth. So if there's anything that's unclear, or if you don't catch something that someone says, please do let us know. We want to make sure that we're all understanding. That's first and foremost. Okay. So I will start with my introduction. I'll show you my picture of my untamed self. I don't know if we'll be able to see our pictures when we hold them up to the camera, but we'll see. You may have seen this picture of me. I posted it on my Instagram. It's a picture of me when I was little with curly wild hair. I'm dirty. I think I'm making cookies or something. I'm just covered in flour from head to toe. And it just represents that wild, fun loving part of myself. I was um, sort of bossy, kind of a know it all kind of kid. I liked to help. I liked to do things. I was really curious. I like to learn. So that's who I am. Still to this day, I relate with this idea of being tamed, like being having been tamed, but I can still see this part of myself inside that wild girl that's in here. So I'm going to turn it over now. And I think maybe for time's sake, I will just call on people in the order that I see you on my screen. Does that feel okay to everyone? Yeah, okay. And if you prefer to pass or to go later, just let me know. That's fine. Oh, did somebody say something? Christy says, I'm going to close my blinds. Bree says, okay. So I'd like to start with CJ. You're first on my screen. Is that okay? Thank you. CJ says, sure. My name is Colleen Jones. CJ. I didn't bring a picture because most of them I that related to your description where I was actually naked in. So I'm not going to show you those. I'm sorry. But I was thinking about your question and thinking about the part of myself that is competitive. I have a competitive personality, but at the same time, something about competition feels really limiting. Like, that's not exactly me. I don't want that to be put on me. So it's not really a nice, neat statement wrapped up in a bow about myself, but that's my first thoughts when you ask the question about our untamed selves. Bree says, thank you. And also, I would love if we would add where you're from and if you want to share your pronouns, feel free. Mine are she, her. So go ahead with that, CJ. This is CJ. I'm from Seattle, and she, her are my pronouns. Bree says, okay, thank you. And I'm in Portland, Oregon. Okay, next, I see Emily. Would you go next? Emily says, yes, hello, everyone. My name is Emily. My pronouns are she, her. I live in Portland, just like Bree. And I'll show you my picture. It's small. It's from fifth grade. It's my school photo from fifth grade. And, it looks very formal and posed, but I love that picture because I've got braids and I remember the green velvet. I still remember that. And, my, let's see, when I was young, I wasn't very assertive or bossy, like Bree said. I was more just kind and gentle and supportive of other people, a listener, friendly, kind of from the heart. I wasn't really very active. I was more from the heart. So, I think yeah, great. Bree says, okay, next. I'm happy to see my friends. And gosh, I need to learn your name signs again because I forget every time. So, Christy, am I right about your name sign? Okay, I was right the first time. Thank you, Christy. Christy says, thank you. Hi, I'm Christy from Sacramento, California. And I looked and looked for a photo. And this one is really not about what I look like in the photo, but it's about the experience I was having. So I was 6 years old, going with my family to Disneyland. And I remember before we went, our parents let us pick out sunglasses. And I picked these bright pink something or others. And my mom was like, are you sure that's what you want? I was like, yeah. And I remember just not caring what anyone else thought, not caring if anybody was looking at my weird glasses. And I looked for this other picture that I couldn't find. But in that moment that the picture was taken, I remember being aware of whether the people who were looking at me seemed similar or different from me and what they might have been expecting from me. And this was about 7 or 8 years old. It was right before that. And I think, it's the picture is from the 1970s, so you'll see that here. And I'm sitting on this donkey. So that's it. And Bree says, oh, sweet. Thank you, Christy. Next, Jean Miller. Jean says, hello, I'm Jean Miller from Portland, Oregon. So my picture is from when I was about 5 years old. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it well, but I will post it in the comments of this lesson. But this day, my family went fishing in Colorado and the fish were biting. They were just biting. My parents said that they were just jumping out of the water and would just grab the hook. So I caught all of the fish that you see on this stringer. My parents had to throw their fish back because I met the limit. But my parents said I looked so happy they couldn't ask me to throw any of my fish back. So they threw theirs back. And you can see in the picture, I am just grinning from ear to ear with all of the fish. And oh, I'm in the middle here. So I remember I was a little bit of a wild girl. I had big feelings, crying, laughing. I was loud and running around, and people were always saying, "Oh, calm down, settle down." I'd get, just really excitable, and I'd get so excited that I'd get sick. Like every holiday, my birthday, Christmas, I'd just be so excited that it would take me down. So a little bit wild, and I think I may have needed a little taming, but not so much. Bree says, "Thank you." And that's a great idea. We can post these photos in the comments under this lesson online so we can really see each other's pictures. Thank you. Next, Jessica. Jessica says, "Hello, everyone. I'm Jessica Burke from Pennsylvania. I just got out of the basement here. We've got tornado warnings, so I may need to turn my video off again, but I didn't have enough time to look for a photograph. But the picture I'm thinking of is from when I was 2 years old. My family used to travel a lot in our Volkswagen camper van, and we'd sleep in the van. And one picture that I remember is of my siblings and I sitting on a curb. And that trip, I was about 2 years old, so I could walk myself, but I wasn't wanting to be carried anymore. I was a little more independent. And I'm just sitting there on the curb looking, just, you know, I had been like, I was a really good girl growing up, but in that photograph, you could just see my facial expression was like, oh, I'm my own person. Bree says, I love it. Thank you. Next, Shanna. Oh, Jessica, were you going to add something? Jessica says, oh, yes, my pronouns are she, her, and this is my name sign. Bree says, okay, thank you. Next, Shanna. Shanna says, hello, everyone. My name's Shanna. This is my name sign. I'm from Austin, Texas. She, her are my pronouns. And the picture that I have, I had looked for a photograph that would show me, so I looked and looked, and it brought back so many memories of growing up and things I loved to do and the things I used to do that I don't necessarily do anymore. So that was cool. This picture is me standing on a stage in theater telling stories. So that was something that I love to do, being the center of attention, performing, storytelling, making jokes, just having that kind of energy. And today I'm much more shy and reserved, but when I was on a stage, I loved to perform and I missed that. So I thought it was really cool to get to see this again. And I'm going to share my screen if you don't mind, Bree. Bree says, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Let me select that so you can share your screen. Okay, go ahead. Jessica says, the fire alarm is going off. I got to go. Just a second. Jean says, oh, how cute. Shanna says, so that's me. Bree says, thank you. Next, Bridget. Bridget says, hello, my name's Bridget. I'm from Minneapolis, Minnesota. My picture that I brought is me and my two cousins. I was about 11 years old, and the three of us were out on a boat on the lake, just being silly, playing around. I grew up, I was very shy and quiet. I was a good girl. But when I was with my cousins, I was wild. We would have so much fun. So the three of us were very silly. Here we are. and this is me on this side here. So we were young and we just didn't care what other people thought. We're in our swimming suits. Nowadays, if someone tried to take a picture of me then, I would be like, "No, thank you," my bathing suit. But no. Oh, and my pronouns are she, her as well. Bree says, "Oh, and your name sign. It's here on the chest, Bridget." Bree says, "Thank you." And next, Teresa. Teresa says, "Hello, my name's Teresa, and I'm from New Jersey, near Philadelphia, and we've got the rain here. The power was just out, so I hope it stays on right now, but if it goes out, it goes out." So when I was looking for a picture, I have no idea why, but the first picture I thought of, I'm in a pool, and I don't remember the photo being taken, but here it is. I did not care. I loved swimming. I hated the water going up my nose, so I had the nose plugs and the goggles, but I didn't care who was looking at me taking pictures. I was having fun, and this was the first picture I thought of when you asked. When I was little, I was just, honestly, I don't remember a lot about my childhood, but in reading the book, I'm thinking, how does she remember so much? And my husband says, "Why don't you remember things?" And I'm like, "I don't know." He's like, "Did something awful happen to you?" I was like, "I don't know. I don't remember. I don't remember much." So that photo came to mind. And I do have memories from when I'm older, but I remember I wanted to try belly dancing. And again, I didn't care. I was older. I was maybe 15 years old. Here's that picture. And my sister and we had a lesson that was taught about how to belly dance, and we performed in town. And I just remember not caring about people watching me. I remember the feeling of that, just loving who I was, not caring what other people thought. And I don't know went, where that person went. I don't know. But again, I was probably 15 years old. So just recently, maybe within the last 8 years, I've been feeling very stuck, very stagnant. And I can relate a lot to what we've been reading so far. So, in that picture, I did not feel stuck. I felt alive. I didn't feel the burden, the responsibilities, I guess. So, I need to find her again. Bree says, "Oh, yeah, I love what you all are sharing, and that we're reconnecting to these parts of ourselves again that we maybe feel disconnected from." And looking back and remembering who we are and trying to find that in ourselves again. I think this is really important. Thank you for sharing that. Next, Jackie. Jackie says, "Sorry I'm late, but my name's Jackie. I'm from the Bay Area in California. And my parents, I guess, got lazy with me. My siblings got different special name signs, but mine is just a J. So I'll show you my picture here. That's me. And yeah, my son looks just like me. Yes. I played sports growing up, basketball, swimming, as many different sports as I could. And, I dressed like a boy. I just had fun. I don't know if you read in the comments of the group, but, I was about that age when I kind of became more tamed. I grew out my hair. I started wearing girls' clothes, but I noticed that year I changed to fit what other people thought a girl should look, act, and dress like. And I had a hard time finding any other pictures besides baby pictures. There wasn't much from the in between years. I don't know what happened to those photos, but thought it was interesting to see this picture and to think about growing my hair out. I was never satisfied with my smile or what my teeth looked like, so I didn't smile real big, but that just made me think it was interesting to see myself at that age, not caring what other people thought. And I remember getting my hair cut. That day I got my hair cut, I was pissed at my mom. But at the same time, I wanted to show who I was as a person. So it was nice to see that and to see me happy. Oh, and my pronouns are she, her. Bree says, thank you. Tell me your name sign again. Oh, just a J. Oh, okay, I get it. I get what you're saying. Okay, great. Thank you. Well, I'm happy to see you. Okay, next, Sandra. And I know you're on the East Coast too. Are you being affected by the weather? Sandra says, yes, yes. We've got thunder. We're doing okay, but my name is Sandra. This is my name sign. Because I smile so much. Same concept with this picture here and the smile. See that? My brother, the two of us are sitting there, and I've got this giant smile, and my brother is just like copying me, just very enamored with me, trying to be like me, wanting me to show him and teach him things. Yeah. So I live in New Jersey, and my pronouns are she, her. Bree says, thank you. And tell me your name sign again. Oh, right, on the cheek, yes. And I forgot to tell you my name sign, and it's the same. It's a B on the cheek, just like Teresa and Sandra. Yes, because I'm friendly. Okay, thank you. And next, okay, Jessica, you're back. I'm glad. Are you doing okay? Jessica said, oh, yeah, the fire alarm was just, the battery was going or something. I don't know. Bree says, oh, okay, good. So the pictures have moved around for me, but I think everyone has introduced themselves. Is that right? If you haven't, raise your hand. Okay, good. Yay. So, wow, this is powerful to look at ourselves, to look back at ourselves. And I encourage you, um, this picture that you found of yourself, I printed mine and I put it on my altar to look at it every day, to remember her, to remember that part of myself. So if you want to reconnect more with that person, maybe find a place that you can see this picture every day. So now let's open it up to our discussion of this book, what you've read so far, this collection of stories, all kind of pointing to something inside that we've lost or hidden or forgotten or forced down. And so far, it seems like we all are really relating to the stories. Yeah. So I have no specific agenda here. We can discuss any parts that felt impactful to you, quotes that you love, but I will just throw something out to get us started here. And I want to just drop in this concept that of the snow globe, that part. So if you've read it, I'll just summarize it if you haven't read that part yet. But she's talking about, those glass globes with water and snow inside, and you shake them up and the snow flurries and then it settles, and usually in the inside there is some figure, and she's making this comparison that we are like a snow globe, and that inside there is a dragon inside of each of us, something that we're trying to hide, to forget, to push down, something that we want to be quiet. And we stir up these snow flurries, we stir up our snow globes, as a way to distract ourselves from that thing that we're trying to ignore, from that dragon. Can anyone relate to that? What how did that concept, reading about it like a snow globe, how did that affect you? How did it influence you? Bridget says, I think about I'm never alone with my thoughts. I'm always watching something or listening to an audiobook or chatting with my kids or driving in the car. I'm listening to an audiobook or the radio. I'm never quiet with myself. And sometimes it hits me when I'm alone and it's quiet. I feel really awkward. I don't know what to do. So I find something on my phone, or I get something out to read, or I listen to something. I'm always trying to fill that silence. So it's hard to find peace during quiet times. Bree says, interesting. Thank you. I wanted to just add something about our turn taking. So again, this is just an open discussion for all, but sometimes if someone is commenting and then you think of something that you'd like to share next, it can be helpful to use the button for to raise your hand, because then it'll kind of put us in order up in the top corner and we know who's going to speak next, rather than raising your physical hand and keeping your hand up the whole time that someone is talking. So that's just an idea. Thank you, Bridget. Jackie says, how do I raise my hand? I don't know how to do that. Bree says, depending on your device, if you click the button that says reactions, then do you not see raise hand on there? Okay, so if you don't see it under reactions, then click on participants. You might see it there. Jackie says, yes, perfect, thank you. Okay, Bree says, thank you for asking. And Teresa says, yeah, I was just gonna mention about that never being quiet. If I'm quiet, I fall asleep. So it's like there's not enough time to think about anything. If I'm quiet, I just fall asleep within literally 2 minutes. Jackie says, I have the opposite problem. I'm always quiet with myself and my thoughts. I'm biking or I'm walking and I just am in thought often. Just yesterday, my husband said, well, I just thought of something, and I thought, I wonder how it is to be the opposite way, you know? Um, I'm just thinking about things all the time. I'm always thinking about other people, what they're thinking. Sometimes my brain just does not stop. And it's interesting to think about this opposite perspective because, it's normal to think everyone is the same as you are, but they're not. So I was just realizing that yesterday, that like other people don't have that going on in their head all the time. Because I didn't really realize that wasn't normal, just that like not all people were doing that all the time. So it's interesting. Bree says that is interesting. Jean. Jean says, no, Bree, go ahead. Bree says, well, I was just going to add that, with those two different perspectives, I relate with you, Jackie, what you're saying about being alone with my thoughts often. But I still do feel like that is the snow. I keep the snow flurries stirred up in my own head. And it's like, Bridget, you are stirring the flurries up externally. It's like you're doing other things. But I've got the snow going on in my own head all the time. Even if I'm quiet, the snow is still falling in my head. So thank you, Jean. Go ahead. Jean says, so my response related to this is these are habits. Like in the beginning, when I first became an interpreter, there were some things in my personal life going on that were really difficult. In order to not have to pay attention to those things all the time, I worked. And I just became more and more involved in the deaf community and interpreting, which I love. But at the same time, there was this juxtaposition between the issues in my personal life. So once those were resolved, it was a habit to just be working all the time for the last 32 years until the pandemic. And this is the first time ever that I'm not working two full-time jobs plus doing all these other things. And I am comfortable with my thoughts, but I'm noticing that habit is so ingrained, deeply ingrained. How do I pull out those roots without feeling guilty, without feeling like, oh, I should be doing something else? If I'm watching YouTube or whatever, I'm feeling like, I should be doing all these other things. But really, it's okay. It's okay to have downtime. It's okay to let my thoughts wander. It's okay. It's interesting that I've developed that habit that is so strong and that has so easily persisted through my life. That's been my experience. Bree says, "Oh yeah, thank you." Shanna. Shanna says, "Yeah, I relate so much to things that everyone is saying." So, it's so easy for me to get carried away with my work or with my thoughts or with the things I need to do, with being productive. And when I'm working, I might be done with what I'm supposed to do, but then check back in with work to see, do I need to do anything here? Or do I need to do anything there? It's hard for me to sit without doing something. I feel guilty. I should be making the most of every moment and reading and doing all these things. And sometimes the difference between what is happening in my head and what's happening out there can be difficult. I might feel really a sense of tension about that. So, it's hard for me to feel that harmony or balance because so much is happening in my head. Oh, interesting. The guilt that we're talking about seems to be an issue for us. Yeah. Thank you. CJ. Well, I was just thinking about this that happens in relationships with other people too, like with partners or with friends. If we're together, then we need to be doing something because if we're just staring at each other in silence, something's wrong. There's nothing there. So, something I've noticed also in relationships. Bree says, "Oh, yeah, thank you." Emily. Emily says, "Yeah, a little bit off, not related to the snow globe topic, but a more general theme of this book. The opening of the book, where the daughter is talking with the mom and they're talking about the cheetah, I was thinking a lot about my own relationship with my mother. Plus, I'm pregnant now with a girl. And so, just thinking about my relationship with my mom, and one point really hit home for me when the author is talking about the woman who came up at the AA meeting, and they were talking about everything being negative and positive. And one time I remember, growing up, I was not allowed to feel negative feelings. It was not okay. And so, how that influenced my relationship with my mother, like we had a good relationship, but it still really got passed down to me that I had uh, a goal of, not really letting myself feel a lot of those things. And so at the same time, thinking about how I might raise my own daughter and just, like I think in the picture that I showed you of myself, It wasn't the picture that I wanted to show. I just moved, so I don't know where everything is, but the picture, um, I think that was the last photo that I can remember before something really changed inside, where I really tried to change myself to fit what others expected of me. Before then, I thought I didn't really care about what people thought. But then getting into middle school really changed everything. I cared about other people's opinions. It was more important than my own sense of myself. My self esteem diminished slowly, and the girls could be really mean in middle school. So that was a lot of what I look back and remember, but at the same time, what I'm thinking about when I think about raising a daughter and having that relationship with her. I look forward to that, I guess. Bree says, yeah, that makes me think about the book that we read just before Untamed, the Burnout book. And if you haven't read it yet, I suggest you read that next. So they're talking about human giver syndrome. And it's basically about how people who are socialized as women grow up learning that we have to be pretty, happy. They have this list of specific qualities that women must be. And they doesn't include anything negative or feeling any kind of negative way. So it's not tolerated really for us to have negative emotions or to show that. So um, they talk about us learning that about the same age. And Glennon says that that age for her is about 10. And it seems to be a real similar age for a lot of us. Yeah, that 10 years old, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, that we're all, Shanna says, yeah, early teen years. Yeah, Bree says, yeah, so this is interesting that that idea of instead of loving who we are from the inside and not caring what others think. Many of you said this picture represents you at a point in your life where you didn't care how others saw you. You cared about how you felt and what you wanted to do. And this concept and the quote that I'm looking at here, it says, we forget how to know ourselves when we learn how to make others happy. We kind of push ourselves down, we ignore ourselves in favor of others. Jackie. Jackie says, what you were saying about women's roles in society, and yeah, that really applies. I have always been a bold woman, a bold woman. I'm honest. People would think, perceive that negatively and maybe call me blunt. But that's society's view of what women are supposed to be or not supposed to be, that we are not supposed to be honest. We're supposed to go along with what others think and want. And sometimes this causes problems in my life because people say, well, you're, honest to a fault. And I'm like, you know, I'm not honest just to be mean or hurtful. I'm honest to be honest. And I think society, takes that from women to make it a negative sometimes. So I don't know. It's just, I was thinking a lot about what this says about society, how society views women and our roles. Bree says, thank you. Yeah, the author does a great job of illustrating how much she has had to give up to be within society's rules, to follow society's rules. And she just gives such a clear example of what so many of us have experienced. Yeah. What else have you all lost? Like, what can we talk about here? What has been lost? What have we given up in order to make others happy, or like you said, Jackie, something in you that you may not have been willing to give up. Not only, it's not only a choice, this is who you are, being honest, being you, like, just this is me. But how do we keep that? That's the question. How do we reclaim it after losing that part of ourselves? Uh, and I don't know who had raised their hand first, but okay. Shanna says, I think as women, a lot society expects us to look a certain way, expects our body to look a certain way, we dress a certain way. And in high school, in school, I was kind of chubby, and I would look at others who were thin and have feelings about that, or looking at the clothes that other people would wear. This group of girls that society says that I should look to, and I was more of a tomboy. I didn't dress how others dressed, and I thought, it made me just think about how society views women looking a certain way in order to be accepted into society. And if a woman doesn't look that way, then it's a struggle, then it's hard, and what we see on social media or in magazines really illustrates that. As we get older, I've accepted myself more and more. I know what I'm working on, I know what I'm good at. I'm not concerned necessarily about the things I used to be concerned about, but looking back, especially in my teens and 20s, like, uh, it was different. So it's just something that I'm thinking about now. Bree says, one of my favorite writing prompts is, what would you tell yourself if you were to give a message to yourself when you were 12 or you were 15? What would you want to tell yourself? So this makes me think of that writing prompt of what we want our young self to know. Emily, so your question about what we lost, for me, really, I think it's confidence in myself. That self confidence to just be, to just do, not necessarily to think I'm the only one who's right, but to feel more confident depending on my own decisions and saying no and feeling comfortable with that because I trust myself, because I know where my boundaries are. And I've seen this with a lot of other girls thinking that we're not good enough, that there's the popular crowd and that I'm not the popular crowd, or that you have to dress or look or act a certain way to be that. And I learned that through seeing other girls, both through their words, but also through their actions, and feeling confused with what I was learning at home from my parents, which were not super strict, but were very like, my parents wanted me to feel good about myself and to they did have a negative view of those girls who you know they didn't want me to share the same values as those other girls or have those same goals, but I felt torn because I wanted to fit in, and that really felt like an internal conflict, and that I had to try to maintain what I liked about myself, but at the same time, I wasn't sure. It just felt very confusing during that time, around 11 and 12 years old. There's a lot of um, social pressure in school in terms of, boys and socialization. And I feel like my values got weakened at that point, and I had a hard time figuring out who I really was with all those pressures. Yeah. Bree says, yeah, thank you. Jessica. Jessica says, yeah, something I wanted to say about that. A part of the book that talks about the author's son's friends being over at the house and asking the group of kids, are you hungry? And the boys said, oh, yeah, we're hungry. And the girls looked at each other to see if they should say they were hungry or not. They didn't trust their own internal indicator to say, yeah, I'm hungry, but they looked to each other. That was something that really hit home for me. Bree says, yeah, I know her example is just so clear. That's a beautiful example of that concept that boys can check in with themselves to see if they're hungry, but the girls have to check in with each other to see if, as a group, they're hungry. And I relate to that too. Yeah. Christy, you were saying something. Christy says, yeah, something that Emily said reminded me of another part of the book, which is where the boys are watching TV and they're just like, "Oh yeah, sure, I'm hungry." And the girls look at each other and then they say, "No, thank you." And I think of my everyday life where I am a people pleaser, right? That's what we're talking about. Many times I find myself taking the pulse of others to make them happy first and actually ending up in resentment myself. And I'm starting to realize that that feeling of resentment means that I'm giving too much, that at some point I need to pause and ask myself what I need or what I want. And sometimes I don't know. That part of the book really made me think about this concept. Bree says, yeah, and can we give ourselves grace in that moment of feeling resentment to stop and ask ourselves, I don't know, to stop and ask ourselves what we need and to realize the answer is, I don't know. Many of us have said we have a habit or a pattern of forgetting how to know what we want. But that feeling of resentment is a clue that there is something that we need, even if we don't know what it is. And can I be gentle? Can I have grace with myself during that moment of not knowing what I need, even though I can tell I need something, but I don't know what it is? Yeah. Sandra, I keep seeing, is that lightning behind you? I keep seeing the lights. Sandra says, yes, it is. It's lightning. Jean. Jean says, I'm thinking about that term people pleaser a lot because I know that is something that I tend to do. But at the same time, I've noticed in the last few weeks, I've seen that phrase and it sparks something in me because at the same time that we learn about our boundaries, how to pay attention to ourselves and our own needs and give grace to ourselves, I also feel like there's some judgment about empathy, about generosity and kindness. And so then our own learning about boundaries, about when it's okay to give and to help other people, and when it's not, when we need to take care of ourselves and protect ourselves, feel kind of muddied. Like, is it okay to do that? At the same time, honestly, a people pleaser is who I am. It's a part of my soul from when I was a very tiny girl. So I don't want to give that up. I don't want that to be taken from me. I do want to know it's okay to say no when I need to take care of myself and to set a boundary. But at the same time, part of, being a part of a group, supporting each other, feeling empathy, valuing that. I haven't figured this out. It's just been in the last 2 weeks that I've been aware of it. But there was a post on Instagram that I saw, and I thought, I don't like that negativity around people pleaser. So I just wanted to throw that idea out here. Bree says, I love that. I'm really glad you said that because I never thought about it consciously before, but there is an importance and a gray area between what's okay and what's not okay, where our boundaries are, and it changes, and then a real value and a love of people and a desire to care for people and yet to still care for ourselves. I don't think we ever will have 100% clarity on this. I think this is a lifelong investigation and a question, but that phrase, people pleaser, has become so negative that we want to not be that. But does that mean we can't want others to be happy? Thank you. Yeah, Jackie. Jackie says, my mom always told me, you give until you don't want to anymore. So that phrase, it's not as simple as that, but I know some people, it may be that simple that you can just give until you don't want to. But I see what people want, you know. That's my superpower. I know what you want. I can tell what you need. And I know how to give it to you. But I can't do it all the time. I'll break. So that's just something I've thought about in my life. How, you give until you don't want to anymore, but sometimes the place to stop is really difficult to figure out. Bree says, yeah, and many of us, as interpreters, as teachers, as parents, we've got all these roles where we are responsible for supporting others. There's a lot of care, caring for and caring about other people that's inherent. And so it's just not simple. Emily. Emily says, so I noticed something in the reading, something coming up and again for me, reminding me of the Enneagram. And I don't know if you're familiar with that, but there's different types of personalities within the Enneagram. I'm a type 6, the loyalist, and can be positive or negative, but looking at the personality who wants to support others or support beliefs and developing more trust in ourselves. So it's interesting, this concept came up again and again in the book, figuring out how to know, the knowing. And just before I saw this question, it's like I already knew the answer. And then it came up in the book and I was shocked. I thought, it was like my inside voice, that small voice. It's like, if you sit and you're quiet and you get in touch with yourself, you have a knowing, you have a trust in yourself, you have an opinion, you have a voice. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that to me, that relates to my Enneagram 6. How, that type of personality, that how do I become the best version of myself that does trust myself, that doesn't have to look to others for that acknowledgement or that praise, and to ask everyone about what their opinion is before I know mine, but just to sit down and get quiet and listen inside to that voice. I'm like, oh, this that reminded me of that. It's really cool. Bree says, oh, I love that. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the Enneagram because one of my favorite definitions of the Enneagram is as a tool that the types describe how we disconnect from our true self. It's the specific way, my type is the specific way that I disconnect from my true self. And so it can be a great framework for identifying how I forget myself, how I repress myself. And I'm a type 2. Jean says, me too. Oh, any other people know your Enneagram types? No. Christy says, I don't remember mine. I'll have to look. Shanna says, I want to take the test now. Bree says, there's an app that you can download. I think it's free and it has a test in it. If you take the official test, there's a charge for it. But whether or not you take a test, that doesn't actually tell you what your type is. It gives you an idea of what your type might be. And the best thing to do is when you read the description, if you feel like someone has seen the underbelly of you that you don't want them to see, then you know that you have found your type. Jackie says, yeah, I think I'm a 2 as well. Yeah, 2 and 3 is where I resonated with both. Bree says, oh, great. Okay. Any last comments? I know we're getting to the end of time. Oh, and Emily shared a resource for us in the chat. Thank you, Emily. So I wanted to say, so we've got a month to read and to chat online in the comments. And then September 29th, we'll gather together again. If you can come again, that's great. If you can't, that's okay. You'll have the recording. We will discuss parts 2 and 3. And there's one request, an activity for you to write a letter to yourself. And the instructions are online in the group that you'll write a letter to yourself this month, okay? Any last comments before we say goodbye? Emily says, yeah, a question. At the next meeting, what time is that? Bree says, it's the same time, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Okay. And I hope everyone stays safe and well, especially those of you in the Northeast right now. We'll be thinking of you tonight. Yes, take care. And post your picture if you can. It'll be fun to see these pictures of each other within the group. Okay? All right. Take care. Love to you all. Bye-bye.